Hello and welcome to Matt Loves Eurovision. This is my Eurovision 2026 Top 35 countdown. It's place number 35. It's Israel, Noam Batam and Michelle. Please do click the subscribe button, ring that notification bell and like, share and comment below. Now, starting off my previews with a slightly unusual review in that this isn't really a review. And not without kind of going into kind of all of the controversy over Israel's continued entry at the contest when various things, as you probably know, going on in the world, the withdrawal of several countries from Eurovision this year because of that, and particularly around some of the change of rules that have happened this year because of what happened last year. And it is largely because of what happened last year and the kind of naked manipulation of some of the voting, on the voting and the promotion, again bending the rules or certainly not necessarily being within the spirit of the rules, shall we say, and which is why we've got a lot of changes in the way that the voting structures work and the way that promotions can be done. I find it very difficult to therefore be subjective about what's happening at the moment, because what's happening at the moment, I don't feel I can put these songs in an ordinary review list in kind of fairness and kind of what's going on at the moment with how they're approaching the contest. But I didn't want to completely ignore it because the song is there and it will score a number of points. In fact, it will score a lot of points, and therein lies one of the issues, that it's completely disconnected with kind of whatever artist or song will be put forward. I'm not, although this is kind of part of my reviews, I am not going to doing this as a public video. I'm leaving this unlisted because when I did include Israel last year in my I did include it in my normal countdown and didn't have it as my last place, but yeah, the comments I got was just went off. Well, yeah, it's just something that I don't think I need to pick up again. So I did want to include it, but kind of it almost feels immaterial about any kind of comments on the song, because that is completely disconnected with how it will do. It will get a large public vote again, because even with the way that the voting has been restructured somewhat to mitigate some of that organisation that goes on, and there will not be such open promotion of it, and that huge public vote is going down each year, but it will still be very significant. Although at least in the semi-finals there will be a jury, the juries will make a more objective voting for it, but that public vote, I'm sure, will carry it through to the final anyway. So it's very difficult to kind of say, oh well, this could do well because of it. It operates in a completely different bubble at the moment, and just the way things are within, although the Israeli broadcaster is still nominally independent of the government, and I think the Israeli government would like it not to be independent. That's a very hairy discussion that goes on as well. A topic for another video, perhaps. Yeah, it's just I just cannot put this into the list of the rest of the songs, because it just feels like it exists independently of the rest of the field. I don't think there is a likelihood that this will win. It's just not that strong enough a song, nor do I think the previous two were. But this is distinctly, I think, probably a weaker song. Not an unpleasant song by any means, but I think in any other circumstances it would not be considered to be it would not be likely to do very enormously well in the public vote. But so I think it will end up doing well, obviously, because it will get a big public vote, but probably not as much as last year. We shall see whether or not some of those changes, and we'll also see what the behaviour of the Israeli delegation is like this year, and also kind of what goes on with the broadcaster and the government. Israel is involved in an awful lot of things at the moment, so I would think whether or not they will want to focus on how they're doing in Eurovision, but then that said, it might put even more pressure on it. So it is an odd one. and it's been a very 5-minute way of saying is that I'm not going to do a review of it because I just don't feel I can do it properly. I think if you know, it's, I've been able to do reviews of songs or entries that have come from, you know, countries that are not necessarily doing great things. I've done reviews of Russian songs when Russia was in the contest, but quite often, sometimes like the last Russian entry, you know, was very disassociated from the government, and that's, whereas at the moment the Israeli Eurovision entry is completely combined with that overall picture of Israel and the world, and the promotion and the attempt to put over another face of what all the other stuff that's going on. So yeah, and that's why I just have kind of kept it separate. But we'll talk about kind of how that then impacts on the likelihood of other things happening within the contest, and where things might finish up. But yes, for this particular song, I can't really make much of a judgment about, you know, how would it do as an ordinary Eurovision song. It's just, I feel, impossible to do. Anyway, that's a bit rambly. I'm not sure how many people will actually see this because I'm going to put this unlisted, and so I think possibly if you are subscribed you might see it, I don't know. Wait and see, find out. But anyway, we'll be moving on with my proper reviews, which will be the proper start of my reviews when I come to number 34, which will be up next. So please do join me for those, and not all my reviews are going to be quite this rambling and incoherent and burbling. I'll be back on much more detail, as you would come to expect from my countdown. But we will see you there for the next one, I hope. Take care.